And just a reminder to Bray and Kristen, make sure you speak into the microphone.
Okay.
Thank you.
It-
Again, we're not the
Yeah.
trouble
Oh,
It's
commission,
okay,
but
connecting, hold on.
they want to
He's
make
not
sure
saying
that.
what you asked
There
him,
we
what he
go.
told us.
Yes. Yeah, I know.
All right,
It's
so
not just-
you're gonna promote me here?
Sure thing. You on? Oh, they are.
Yep.
I will allow you to talk.
Okay. Okay, join as panelist. Okay. And it's
Ta-da.
5 o'clock. Somewhere. No, here.
And other places too.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, well, we have a
We have
quorum.
quorum, yep.
All right, it is 5 o'clock and the September meeting of the Conservation Commission is now impaneled. I will do the roll call. We'll start on my left.
Tom Olson, member.
Kristen Distante, member.
Larry Dunn, chair.
Ray Rafferty, vice chair.
Michelle Fitzpatrick, secretary.
Thank you all. The next item on the agenda is approval of minutes from August 7th. So is there a motion?
I move we accept the minutes as presented. Second.
Second, is there discussions, clarifications, or
Yes.
modifications?
There was just one small spelling error that I found. I'm trying to pull it up. In section. Some, I think it was 4. Write it down. Somewhere gauge is spelled G-A-G-E instead of G-A-U-G-E. So maybe you could just do a search.
You have it. I'll find that.
Oh, it's on 4.3.
Yeah, 4.3.
There we go.
Commissioner Rafferty will reach out to
Yep.
John's.
Good catch.
All right.
And,
Any other? Oh, yeah.
the comment I had was that in the minutes for the new business under the Triton Square map, so that we would see those today, and I didn't see that on today's agenda.
And I'll explain why.
Just
Okay.
a note. Thank you.
All right, so with that one change to spelling. Let's take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. And we move on to public communications. I do not see any. Public.
Nope.
Out there. So I guess we don't have any. No. All right, so just moving right along. Report of chair. Okay, well, I got stuff. So the first. Okay, I'll get you back. All right, so the first item is the committee of chairpersons, which was held. It's in the agenda.
August 30th.
August 30th.
It's August 30th. What I did was I put together with some input from Tom and put together a one-sheet report on the activity that we did. I will say that I was the only one that put together the report of what we did. I highlighted a couple of areas. The area I highlighted was the POCD. And I did spend a second on a little bit on Earth Day. And asked if anyone had any questions on, oh, I'm sorry, and I mentioned eelgrass, which I'll get to in a second. So the only questions I had was on eelgrass, but to hold off on that, that's another topic under this agenda item. Now, since all you guys were here, I suspect that there's not a lot of comments on it other than.
I'm just curious how, so it's all the town commissions that,
Yeah,
Part of
now
that?
it's supposed to happen once a year. So in the last 7 years, we've done it twice.
got it.
So, but this was like second year in a row. They did
So how many people attended?
no, it was
It was good.
there's attendance there. There was discussion.
It's
there.
available online.
Yep.
So you
Oh,
can
yeah,
go watch it.
yeah, you can. watch it.
I watched it. So. It's, you talk about, you can't hear people. That's a
Yes.
good example.
Oh, yeah, that was,
another reason.
yes.
So.
Zell throughout the meetings, I can't hear anything. I can't hear anything. So it was, yeah, it was a little ugly from a communications point of view. But they didn't have these speakers. They had this one.
They have their own, I don't know. We can
okay.
just deal with what we do here.
Deal with this.
So,
We'll just worry about us.
that's right.
Okay.
There-
Just
Question.
one quick
Yep.
comment. In prior years, there was an opportunity for the town to give a little bigger picture what Public Works is working on or the planning
did.
department's working on. That may or may not filter down to the commissions. So you may see something going on in town, drive by it. But you don't necessarily ask at some future time when you have that opportunity. So at the meeting, I found for a while that Public Works put out a monthly sort of 2-page newsletter sort of thing. I'm not quite sure it's still out there anymore. But that was informative a little bit about what some of the projects the town was doing.
Yeah, they did discuss several projects, but nothing that we didn't already know about. I mean, it's no
Right.
new news that I heard.
Right.
We did spend some time on shellfish, which you saw in the paper, which I guess I'll get to. Again, another item that was covered.
Larry, I was gonna say one thing to address what Bray just brought up. So there was a couple of discussions by staff. So John Reiner spoke about the POCD and especially the engagement piece of that. So they're contracting out with, I think, Horsley Witten to do prior to the start of the POCD to develop a engagement strategy and outreach strategy in terms of how to make sure that this POCD reaches out to the broadest audience it can, meaning around the, I think one of the challenges is that it's, we want to make sure that we are getting everyone's voice as part of this. So that was one part. And then Megan talked a little bit about
I can talk a little bit.
yep,
Yes.
about some of the stuff she was working on. So I think if you want, should be able to hear the first part of it on there that talks about the staff updates and that kind of piece. So they do still kind of do that.
Public Works does post a monthly
Yep.
update, but they haven't posted one since March. This is
Right.
I don't know how timely these are.
Right. That doesn't help.
That doesn't help.
January, February, and March, April
Right.
are there.
So the second item I want to talk about was I received actually moments before I came to the meeting, a request from the town manager that 3 of us, right, Ray, Kristen, and Tom Olson, their term ends December 2023. So within 45 days, I need to get back with a statement of re-upping everyone. So what I would ask is in the next 2 weeks, is just reach out and contact me and we can, make sure that, you want to continue, anything you want to tell me. And I didn't feel it would be appropriate in the public meeting anyway, but so there's that. So think about that. And,
No pressure.
give me,
Is
yeah,
it-
well, I figured a public thing that would be pressure.
You decide now.
Yeah, you gotta sign it now. The next topic is, Zell Stever has agreed, we were thinking of getting him here this month.
Yeah.
And he said he would rather attend in October. So, so he is signed up for the October meeting and will be on the agenda. And I guess my ask is that like we did with the staff from the waste folks is give them some direction on what we want to hear rather than letting them, Zell can kind of talk. So just provide direction on things that you think would be of interest for the P O C D and the key items to put on the table.
Is that, he's coming in October or November? I'm confused.
October, November is, we're trying to, November, we have,
We have Megan and
Megan,
Joe are gonna
yeah.
talk about the stormwater and
Yep.
MS4 program and
Yep,
some
so we
outside
kind
grants.
of, we're
Yeah,
moving
we
things
kinda
around.
shifted.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, remember, we're trying to bring in every month some staff thing that deals with the P O C D so that we stretch this out and not have these marathon meetings or have to go to every 2-week meetings.
Right.
So the good news is we got a lot of time. Bad news is it goes fast.
I reached out to Zell with the information you sent me. I did not get any email back.
All right.
So, but it's probably similar discussions that you had with them previously.
Well, I didn't provide any direction on what to do with the meeting. I just said, here's our interest and that you would be contacted. So that's. So reach out.
I narrowed it down.
Okay. All right. Next item I want to bring up is that I was nominated, although they didn't tell me who nominated me, to be on the state of Connecticut Eelgrass State Committee. Very prestigious. I'm now on the state committee. And we had our first meeting August 30th, and I just got a note again today that they want to start meeting every 2 weeks.
Wow.
So, I will point out, now, if you're interested, let me bring this up and bring up share. And share. Okay, so official state seal and everything.
They
So-
spelled eelgrass wrong too. Should be one word.
Yeah, that's fine. So there was a special act that was created to actually execute this with a comeback by March of 2024 with recommendations. And so the first thing we did at the meeting was agreed we would probably not meet that day. So, and then what else we're gonna do? I will share with you. Hold on. Let me bring this up. And I don't think that, let me go back to share again.
No, it's right on that one.
Oh, it did.
Yes,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
that was-
All right, so this is. How doesn't that work? There we go. All right, so this was the meeting agenda, which I don't even think you care about. So there is a website where all this stuff is being recorded. If you have an interest, well, what the heck? So why don't I give it to you and you can
Yeah,
kind
I'll
of
share his
publish
part.
where
I'll
it
share
is-
it, yep.
where this website is.
Sure.
And so here's the minutes. Basically, they did it on the fly. So, so this was kind of the outline that we kind of toyed with. Review existing information, mapping, poly, et cetera. Cost benefit analysis, infrastructure for restoration, policy, regulation, et cetera, as the working document, working outline for it. Guess which one I shoved in there? Oh, come on.
Cost benefit?
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, I knew
Okay,
that.
I didn't think
No
that-
one was answering. I'm
I
like,
didn't think that was a hard question.
No,
So I did.
there wasn't.
I did bring that up. And I will admit that I went online and, do with my online search. And this is kind of like open space where there's not a lot of accurate research. There's some, but it's limited. So this is going to be a fun exercise on what it is. So I'm sure we'll have discussions on that.
Who's on the working group? I know Tessa. Tessa's great. I saw Jamie Vaudry on that.
Let's see. Hold on. I think that's here.
In my past life, I actually, not that I want to disclose any of this, but we did a lot of work on eelgrass.
Oh, wait a minute.
No, but what I would say is that there's a working, you can bring this back. There's a working group in Rhode Island on eelgrass. So there's like a task force over there that's already been existing for a while. So,
Still all their stuff.
I know,
That's what I intend
why
to do.
not?
So
Absolutely.
I will reach out to you for a comment.
You can reach out to me.
I
yeah.
think there's also a working group over at Fisher's Island.
There is too. Yeah. Yeah. I actually presented
Yeah,
to
we
them.
met. They came here.
Yep.
Yep,
Yeah, they
here
came a
once.
couple of years ago.
Yeah, so they were here, so I know about
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah, we worked with US Fish and Wildlife and the NEARS program, not the Connecticut NEARS, Rhode Island NEARS and others on ground truthing and the flyovers. So we have all the mapping. Rhode Island actually has some really good mapping on the eelgrass beds, and now it's like the whole Long Island study. So a lot of the work that I did over in Stonington and Westerly is covered all in that area there too.
All
So
right. No,
it's an
that's
interesting
good.
project. So it's good.
I mean, what I did find was similar to what we heard from the other ones, that eelgrass carbon sequestration is about double per acre, about double that of a forest. So
It's a
now
lot.
there were some studies that had it more,
Mhm.
but they were all over the place, from 2 times to 8 times. And I went, so I took the lowest, which was still impressive.
It's a fickle plant, put it that way, you
Yeah,
know, like,
it's a fickle plant.
no, from the standpoint of it's highly impacted by water quality.
Oh, yeah.
And it can change year to, we did a major restoration of it. And you could have some years where you'd have a bed that would expand by 20-25%, and some years you lose 60%. And it was all based upon water quality. And so it's a challenging,
Yep.
it's really important on a lot of levels, but with water quality and temperature and
And you gotta
pollution,
control
everything
those
kind
things,
of
yeah.
complicates it. That's the easy way of putting it without getting into.
All right. Moving on, unless there's, I'll keep you posted from time to time on that. Moving on, did have a meeting with Lauren Post on the Greater Groton website in regards to waste management. And she came back and said, well, you know, maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe you want to do something else. And so we have a meeting coming up Thursday. So we'll discuss it on Thursday in our special subcommittee of
Okay.
3. So we'll come back at our next meeting and give you a latest update, but we're trying to move that along. And we kind of hit a little hitch. I attended the Alliance for Mystic River Watershed. That was, there's a website on that. Did that come up? Oh, no, I stopped sharing. Okay. Okay, so this is a new group that is kind of focusing on the Mystic River. So, and they spent a lot of time in that meeting on shellfish. And the pollution, you know, they had a lot of talk about pollution and, you know, that small island out there, Mouse Island? No. What's it?
No,
Sixpenny?
It's Sixpenny.
No, not Sixpenny. The one with a couple houses in it.
Oh, Mouse. It was about
Mouse-
Mouse. Yeah, it
Mouse
was about
Island,
Mouse Island. Yeah.
That there's pollution coming in there, and so there was a lot of discussion on how to control pollution. And then a couple of days ago we saw that there's pollution, you know, in their beds and
But it's not associated with Mouse Island.
What-
There's some complication. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
complicated right now. The state's involved and all
yeah.
that
So
kind of stuff.
it's so you got the problem of the environment, you got the industry. Now the point I wanted to make here is it's a worthwhile effort. We have a links to the community in our website. I would just recommend and get your guys, let me do this, approved without exception to add them to our
Add a link on our
Commu-
site.
community, yeah, to our website as a link.
That's good.
All right, so I will do that. This down. And
Just one comment on the issue on the shellfish beds being compromised. I've always supported that there would be a sampling processing lab in our area and not have everything go to Hartford or Milford.
Mhm.
They came very close to putting one in Yukon and Avery Point. But it didn't go through, or the state didn't support it finally, I guess, when it came close to signing off on it. But that always seems to be that in monitoring the quality of the beds requires a lot of sampling. And it's very difficult for southeastern Connecticut to compete against having to take water samples either to Hartford or Milford to be processed. And that's always.
is there a possibility that says one of the recommendations for the eelgrass is just the water quality, given what you just said? Do we not have to do sampling of water quality? You know, around those eel beds, which are reasonably close to where the clam beds are. That.
Yep.
Good.
You could.
Do you have something from the past of that recommendation? That you can send me and I could see if I can work it into the eelgrass recommendation?
Let me talk to some of the people on the Shellfish Commission.
Hmm.
Because that's where we had a good deal of discussion over the years.
All right, well, if you can get me something and it's worth a shot, nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Okay.
Okay, Next item is I had a subsequent exchange with David Aldrich. And we talked about cost benefit models. And he indicated that, let me back up. So I then did my due diligence on waste management cost benefit analysis. And if open space and eel bed cost benefit is here, waste management is over here. I had so many studies and analysis and I said, well, that makes sense because there's money in waste management, a lot of money. So it's almost a plethora of data, which is the opposite of kind of what I had in open space. So I said, well, let me approach this a little differently. So if you divide it up into 3 areas, which I did, is I'm kind of getting ahead into the POCD section, but there's, social costs, there's the actual costs, and then, waste disposal costs, and then there's haulage fees. So, as part of SCARA, they're doing an analysis and will be available in a meeting on November 29th of this year where they're going to present. And I do know that Stacy is a rep there. My request, I don't know if it's to you or I got to go right to John to say, I would like to be at that presentation meeting. Is that something I could go directly? It's a kind of a private, I took it as a.
I don't know. I actually don't even have an answer. I don't even think it would go through us because SCARA is not associated directly with the town where we have a membership with.
So
SCARA.
I did ask, just ask David.
I would ask David. Yeah,
Okay.
That's what I would think.
Okay. And what I'll do is I'll carbon copy Bert. Or when I get an answer, I'll just tell him, hey, oh, by the way.
When does that mean again? November 29th?
November 29th.
Okay, I got that right.
And so he said he's gonna do a long range forecast and we have all the stuff in it. Says, well, all right, that takes care of kind of one of the 3. And now we got to think about the other one. So social costs, there are a lot of studies on that. Haulage fees are local to us. And so I kicked off, I made a list with a little help from David on one of the items. I think there's like what, 13, 8, 9.
Oh, the
10.
different fire. Yeah,
It's 10 the fire districts and all the different
Yep.
haulage costs. So that's going to take some research, and I'll talk about that on Thursday about going back and try and collect that data of what's really going on. I mean, why do a study? We can just get the actual cost. And there's only 10 folks to contact. So that's that. The next thing, said I was going to keep going. The next thing was,
I didn't know that sheet of paper. Hold on.
yeah. The next thing was that I had the opportunity to interact with John Burt at the chair, the Commission of Commissioners meeting. And I said, hey, when are we going to have a PRUC meeting? He said, well, the thing, and it wasn't, I said, John, it's not going to make any difference. We know what the properties are. Why don't we get started? Okay. So he said he would, right? Because he already agreed that we could, that I would be a rep on that committee. So I'm expecting that. So I guess my request to my staff support person is, given that he said he would do it,
Mhm.
when is it?
Got me.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, I don't.
I
Yeah,
mean, I
I'll
know
see
we're
what-
in the
I'll-
summer months, so I would.
Yeah, I'll see what I can find
yeah.
out.
I mean, we do want to get started on some of this stuff. Okay. I think I'm done with report chair. Now we can get to report of commission. So I'll start on my right.
Nothing that's not in the agenda.
Not much. You and I had a meeting, but that's about it.
Well, your pollination stuff.
I've gone for 3.5 weeks and I had another bout of COVID, so not so much. Yeah.
Another bout.
I was in France, nobody wears
Oh, well, that's
masks
France.
like nothing anywhere, so it's good. I'm good.
Oh.
Yeah. Way to look.
I had a meeting with the chair of the Parks and Recreation Commission down at Sparkle Lake, along with the GOSA. We did a walk around of the parcel down there. Take a look at the trails that they're maintaining and what their vision is, what they want to see for that particular parcel. And one of the things that Joe Smith from GOSA and myself noted was that this was a Oswa, back in 2013, the town purchased this parcel using open space watershed acquisition funding from the state. However, that there's a requirement in when you receive that grant that you have to label and put a big DEP logo on it and explain stuff. And the new signage that they've just put one of the new wayfinding signs there, and none of that's on there. So I sent a email into the staff here as well as to Parks and Rec, saying you're not in compliance. And then also noted that the same is also true. They haven't for the wayfinding sign at Sassacus, which is rolled over with there's a state easement on it, but it was originally DEP funded for the merit that was rolled over with this Attorney General's permission. But it still requires to have the logo on it, and they haven't had the new sign put up at Boulder yet, but they need to put that in consideration when they do that. So I did make note of that, and so I just passing that along.
And I think you got an email back from Mark saying he's gonna take care
Right.
of the one at Sparkle.
Right.
He said it, yes.
Yeah, so that should be, I mean, you can follow up with him when that's done, but
But I if you're already doing one, just toss the other one in, just because it can make it generic enough. You can do
well,
the signs.
so it was the same grant funding for Sassacus? Because I asked Deb that and she said,
Well, it's $1988 as opposed to $2013, but it's still the same program. The program's been in place for 23 years or something. This is around 20 or 28 or something like that. So it's been around for a long time. And it was used, and that's how come they had to go through all the rigmarole, because people forgot about it because you didn't have the sign up to tell you about it, to remind everybody.
Okay.
That's what.
Well, it's a requirement of getting the money.
Yes.
So let's get back to
I get that part.
Yeah.
Deb was questioning where the funding actually came from. It was actually part of the same program.
Yes,
or
it's in our history book. If we go back and take a look at our 1990 plan there, it's in there. It says that it was purchased. When you go take a look at everything. Yeah.
Was that one of the,
Yeah,
from the
From the
bonding? It
right.
was from the bonding, that was strictly town.
yeah, but you take a look at that,
That's what she
how that
said.
they purchased it. Okay, you take a look in the book here and you take a look at the merits. The town has applied for the 40%, $280,000 state open space grant for this parcel.
Yep. That
Okay.
was right, done after the other initial
Yeah.
property. So on that one, I think
Yeah.
they did go to the state.
Right, and that's what comes to state. No,
Yeah.
well, it went to merit, and then what the state did, because they want the town. School commission went off, school building committee went off and said, no, we gotta put this new school here. Didn't realize that this requirement was there, that it was state property, it's state funded property. That they put in the custody of the town, and that there was a conservation and recreation easement on that property. That they had to then go to the state attorney general and have it split into partial to Boulder Heights and partial to make up for the
Right.
change.
Do they, on that Merritt property where the school has been built? Is there a part of that property that's still considered as open space?
No. The parcel was all
I thought I saw a
utilized.
reference somewhere that we were talking about.
But you go walk the parcel and it's all. And there's when they did the if you read the conservation and recreation easement, it talks about, it gives you the whole history of that.
Yep.
Okay, and it just basically cleared, the state no longer has any control on that. And so that's really what the whole issue is, the state easements, and it was all shifted to the other two parcels.
Again, that would probably be Mark again.
No.
But I'll talk to Deb.
Okay,
Thanks for
Nothing.
keeping them on their toes. Tony.
Nothing else.
okay, thank you. Old business, open space inventory. So we've been, okay, my first assumption is there hasn't been changes to the working database update.
No,
Okay. So one of the things been hanging around is.
no, when you ask, you know, Mike, we have hit the 2-year anniversary for the parcel that the town accepted as open space and hasn't been provided yet. But planning is supposed to be watching that. I don't know what your status is. That's the only change that would come, but it's been now 2 years.
Which property is that?
This is the one, Farquhar, not Farquhar, but Ben Quack or something. It's over at the corner of Gungy and Pleasant Valley area. I'll get the pin number for you, but there is 20 acres up there. Behind, there's a Briar Hill subdivision was put in there, and he gave this to the town, was giving this to the town, and he indicated to planning that he was ready. The town council went through the whole rigmarole of approving it. And then you're supposed to get the deed from him and process it, and that still has not happened. It's been over 2 years now.
Who's hanging on to the deed?
The owner.
Doesn't have to pay taxes.
Can you send me the pen?
He
for
keeps
that?
the deed.
Yeah. Okay.
Just like I'll
Yeah, that's a good deal. So as you know, we've been trying to get the viewer, Conservation Commission viewer to go public, and I guess I'd call it another snag or some concerns from staff. You don't have to reply.
All right.
And we've got a meeting this Thursday to hopefully unsnag it. To be able to get that out. So there's no, you know, the content of it is not the issue. It's, oh, people might think if it's an open space, they can walk on, which to me is not a very good argument.
We'll just
because
well, yeah.
there's a lot of places you can't walk on that are town property. You know, like the dump, you just can't go in there and walk on the. So anyway, we'll have that discussion Thursday. So that's all that. Now, open space planning.
And we may have no updates. If you remember, like we switched to this, basically this old business one, so that
Yeah.
if stuff fell in this, these are the more of the generic things that a lot of stuff falls into. So if there's no updates, that's fine.
Yeah, there, I didn't have any.
Yep, that's totally fine.
Okay.
Yep. But it keeps it so that,
We don't forget.
well, A, we don't forget, and B also, so it kind of, okay, these are the big subcategories that they talk about most times.
All right, so the next one is the POCD. I chat a little bit about it, but just to go through each of the 6 subgroups. So we'll start off with Mr. Olson on definition of open space.
On the definition of open space, I had already made my initial presentation a couple months ago, and then at the beginning of August, as I reported at the last meeting, that I would be monitoring this on the following Friday. The CLCC, the Connecticut Land Conservation Council, hosted a luncheon workshop where they invited this Lindsay Sue from the DEP office. And as the Connecticut Green Plan expired in 22, and so they're rewriting the 23 on. The reason it expired was that the original state legislation said you're supposed to be at your 21% by 2023. Well, here we are in 2023, and we're only at 79% of the way there. Okay, so they're kind of scurrying. How do I meet everything here? And what's going to be the plan on a go forward basis? Now, the state did, fully approve the OSWA grants as part of the budget process for 24. But DEP is taking a look at, do I need to go and put better fidelity to the open space definition? Right now, as we have in our open space conservation plan, we have the state definition. It's like 2 green boxes. We say it's protected or preserved, and it's got some, willy-nilly type of stuff. It's got an easement on it or a deed, and then another thing says it's got like it's a designated park or whatever. Okay, it's very high level, which is what it was fine with us. I mean, but they want to have more definition. So that's why I put in your packet tonight, what they're looking at, and it's a much more detailed is how I would present it. This is their initial draft in regard to how that they're going to define open space. And it's getting more legalese, how I would try to, initially say it. Be protected from development by a conservation restriction held by a qualified conservation organization. Be owned and fee by a qualified conservation organization or water company.
Qualified.
Well, when asked the question, and now you can listen to this. This is available online through it's a YouTube type of thing at the CLC website. So if you're really interested in the gory details of what she said, but basically, from my monitoring of it was that they would say it's a one of the Connecticut land trusts, okay, or a municipality, okay, is basically the two ways that they would be saying it's a qualified conservation organization. And then they said the restricted, protected, or used for other following uses. And so this is more generic to some degree rather than a park that, because DEP has a list of its parks because they're staffing them. But this gives them a little bit more flexibility to count some more acreage. Like a good example would be what's happening over here on Gunjewamp with the old YMCA camp. The state owns it, but it's not getting counted because it's not in the park system. It's not in the wildlife management areas. It's not, but it meets this criteria. And so.
So that kind of fudge their criteria to get the number.
Well, rightly so, and that's fine. They have goals to meet, and they're recognizing that they should have had a little better definition.
Now, given this definition against our inventory, I'm not sure it changes anything that we.
I don't think it would change anything the way we've categorized stuff already.
So a question. To maintain or enhance conservation of scenic resources.
Yeah.
And scenic, that is a very, where the golf course can be scenic because it opens up a view to the water. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh, yeah.
that's a big loophole.
Well, there's no, but this is for the state-owned properties and also for the town-owned properties that count, okay? Because they're in, as far as there's 11% for the state and 10 or is it 10 or 11? I can't forget. I don't remember who's got which between the 10 and 11 between the state owns and then the municipal and land trusts. Okay, so it's how they would count them also. The land trusts are pretty easy because they already are dedicated. But it's there. When you ask about the golf course, well, that's a municipal owned one. Should we be putting that in the list if it's come on here right now?
Enhance public outdoor recreation
Yes, sir.
opportunities.
Yes.
So that's
Recreation.
Right. But again, it gets, but can I use Oswa dollars to go buy a golf course? No, because it's considered high intensity recreation as opposed to low intensity recreation. Okay.
So I'm looking at this and it says, they'll get a report out in a year and 5 months or something.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, that's what they have their timeline here. Yeah, but still support us. It'll still support the POCD. So I'm just letting you know that because we've kind of hitched our tails onto the state. I'm just letting you know the state's looking at changing it, which will affect us, and so we're going to have to stay nimble with this process and let when we're putting our inputs in. I'm staying up to the top of this and just letting everybody know that it's there. And they're off doing their thing. They've got their consultant data right now. They're hiring their consultant to go analyze this and to fine tune it. But this is what they're giving as essentially the statement of work to the consultant. This is what we're kind of looking for. Okay. So.
Thank you, I think.
I just
Yeah, I know.
for full transparency here, and I'll be monitoring this, and it's my job. For my section.
Next section is climate change and resilience, Mr. Rafferty.
Nothing else to report other than we're looking forward to Zell's presentation. to give us some direction. Or we have direction, but to see what they're, from their standpoint.
All right, sustainability. Oh, Ann's not here. Although there's a little overlap there. Outreach.
Conrad's not here.
Yeah, I mean, you sent an email to me and Kristen, but Conrad said he volunteered the outreach, so we really need to work with him to talk together. I was hoping he would be here so we can arrange a meeting, like a subgroup maybe, and sort of try to scope out what we think we want to try to do for outreach, but since he's not here, can't do it yet.
Arrange a meeting, we can maybe just.
Email.
Set up a meeting.
Right, exactly. But
Okay.
that's where it stands. We need to work with him and support him since he's the one that volunteered to be the main point of contact.
All right, waste management, I kind of gave my report already.
I have a thing about what he's gonna do.
Oh, yes.
The Connecticut Recyclers Coalition is having an annual meeting on Wednesday, October 4th. In Hartford, which I thought it might be good for some of us on the waste. Ideally, two of us. I'd be happy to go, but I don't know that I would love going alone, but there might be a good thing to go to. I think they're gonna talk a lot about batteries and
Those pesky batteries.
What's the name of the group again? Connecticut what?
it's the Connecticut Recyclers Coalition.
Psychos. Thank you.
Now, I mean, lead acid or also the
I think
new,
the whole batteries in the waste stream.
yeah, but
But I mean, it's a whole.
we now got, you know,
Yeah.
different batteries out
Yeah.
there.
So,
Sorry, and on this note too, I know that Larry talked a little bit about this, about meeting with Lauren and Sam and her email back and then our conversation about what she's looking for is that these other topics a lot around waste management will help to make the Greater Groton tile more engaging. Like, you know, a lot of what Larry sent over was stuff about the cost piece. And some people may care about the cost a lot, others may not, but things like batteries or composting or recycling or all that stuff will help make it. Basically what they came back with, and I didn't elaborate too much because I knew we'd talk about it again, is that both Sam and Lauren have a pretty good understanding of how to make Greater Groton really work and to get the most engagement possible, because that's the difference between this. It's not a static website, it's an engagement tool. So you don't want to be too fine-tuned. You really want to start broad and then kind of focus down when you get a little bit closer and really find out what people are interested in. So something like this might be helpful too. So I do think that it would be helpful.
Do you send that to me, to myself and Connie?
Yeah, I think I did send it to you, but I don't know.
No, I think that was. I would remember.
And is it a workshop? Is that what it is?
It's the annual meeting. They usually
Yeah,
have,
yeah, okay.
fairly interesting speakers, and it's kind of all the people in the state. So I think for all the people in the state who do, you know, boxes and own the warehouses, it's like everybody in the community of recycling. So it's kind of an interesting, you know, it's big. In the waste.
It's big. Yep, it's big.
Waste is big.
Waste is
business.
big.
That's that it is. So it's a whole different thing. Okay, anything else?
Now I know.
Yeah. No, okay. Stewardship.
Yes. So I don't have this in writing for the team yet, but I'm gonna share my thinking and you can let me know if that sounds reasonable. We obviously put a lot of effort into this already. So I was looking at our open space plan, pulling information from there about stewardship. So basically figure out what information from there to put into the next POCD, because we already put the effort into creating that, right? And then talk about what we've done with that information since we created, here's why we do stewardship. And then look at, okay, what we need going forward. But we talked to you start talking about these possible details. I don't think we should put this kind of details on how we might go forward with this. I think we need to say we need to go forward. And then those details of how to do it will be in meetings afterward, right? It's recognizing that we need to come up with creative ways to get the help, since we don't have a staff person. We need to creative ways to do it, but trying to come up with a list of creative ways in the plan doesn't make sense to me, because that's the weeds, right? We want more of a high level, that we need, we would like to both have a dedicated staff, and we need to come up with ways to work around the fact that we don't have dedicated staff. That's what I'm thinking.
So it starts off with getting the budget, getting it in the budget.
Well, right, but I mean,
We
but
get
that's
staff, et
right,
cetera.
rather than trying to come up with, oh, we could work with this group or that group. I don't think that kind of detail belongs in the plan. I think we need high level in the plan, and then we need to work on details as a group after the plan's been submitted.
Well, I think the high level would be, do we intend this to be funded by the town? Do we intend this to be a hybrid where the town funds and the town creates some mechanism where we engage the community?
Larry, give me details again. What I'm saying is that we don't need to discuss details now. We need the overview, and then we can discuss what details we want in the plan. But I don't think we need to, I don't think it makes sense to discuss the details until we have the background laid out, which I'm working on right now.
Okay, but I think the POCD needs to say, we need funding. I mean, I think
Oh,
we-
absolutely.
okay,
But how we say that, we can decide as we get into more
Okay,
details what we're
all
putting in the plan.
Okay. All righty. Speaking of money, we have, next topic is budget support. So I'm trying to remember the timing. So there was floated a concept of because we get voted down every year on open space monies. So the concept was, okay, rather than trying to add 25,000 every year, let's just say, listen, we wanted to get to a cap which will allow us to do surveys, other things, to be able to prepare a grant. And came up with that number of 75K.
Right.
Now, meanwhile,
We hit that number.
we hit that number already. So
We almost tripled it.
yeah, it's really. So I think the point is that if the concept was, we're not gonna get the town to pre-approve a bucket of money to buy a land that you don't know about, we'll at least have enough money for the evaluation, the surveys, the creation of the grant, et cetera, applications, et cetera, et cetera. So we're there, but I think it does give us the opportunity to shift the other items that we wanted in the budget, which was back to the point of 60% of the town's own properties, open space, we have insufficient funding.
Mhm.
So we've done some back of the envelope calculations on what's the cost per acre. Then I think we got to take that, which is in a $40 to $50 range, by the way, per acre, so not huge. And then the question would be select certain parcels, because you don't want to take that to the entire space, but which ones really have trails and other things that would warrant that. And then come up with an estimate, which you can get in by at the end of this month, I think is where we're at. So I would suggest, now that we have a guess on the price, I mean, should we work with Parks and Rec and see if we can get, I like to go in and say with their agreement, with their confirmation that what we're doing is correct, is that?
Well, Parks and Rec already has the type of equipment and skill sets of individuals to be maintaining open space, and it's also on their list of, and we need to coordinate with them relative to what's in the Parks and Rec regulations. And so that working with them is in putting a budget line plus up per se with the Parks and Rec budget is probably the most effective and cost effective.
Well, yeah, last
way
time
of doing
around,
it.
they didn't have money to even do summer hires.
Right.
So we need to kind of, all right, so what if we, I guess I'm looking at you and me,
Yes.
get a meeting with Parks and Rec that says, look, we want to,
Well, Parks and Rec staff or Parks and Rec commission, first off. What you're gonna find is this is a side issue when I was talking, that their focus principally from the Parks and Rec Commission is on their charter, and it's not so much overseeing the staff stuff as it is overseeing the golf course,
golf
the
course, yeah,
senior
that's kind of
center,
what I thought.
where all the cash is, okay, and where the money comes in, okay. they have a, because that's where their focus is.
How about the Parks and Rec, because it's in their budget. Let's just,
Yeah,
this goes.
It's a staff item with Mr. Perry.
Let me, if you set something up, I'd be happy to join you on that.
Okay,
So,
I'll see what I can set up a time with Mr. Barry.
and tell Mr. Barry, I mean, we're supporting him. I mean, I would
Yes,
think
yes.
he would like to.
Right.
Get our support. And then, partly was, because I've already talked with some other groups, that once we get a proposal, we would then engage the community to endorse and support that proposal. But that's that's not.
That's what,
me.
provided whatever gets vetted through the town manager. So we need to also be taking a look at the town manager as how we're going to influence him to be acceptance of what's put in by his department, subordinate
Yeah,
department
yeah,
head.
Okay, well, part of that acceptance is we got community support.
Support,
to do
right.
this, Yeah, it kind of goes hand in hand. So I gotta think about that. So I think the politics might be. We sort of we engage some of the groups and say, would you support this? And then be able to go and say, win, we got community
Yeah.
support. And then afterwards, the support is when it gets before the town council, is when you really need the community support.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, so that's kind of the sequencing. That's in September. I think those were the two major sections of the budget.
Well, you were also gonna meet with Megan. Did you officially, have you been talking with her?
You're right, sustainability, and we moved that out a month.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Which doesn't help on the end of September input. All right, I'll reach out to Megan. Budget input. Okey doke. I'm sure she's working on it, so it's just a question of support of things, and then it comes back to the things that what you were, the sections that you got for that. So hopefully that all ties together. Let's see, vacant land review, we kind of touched on that,
That's
which
it.
is we're now to the PRCU that's been completed. Connecticut College project, that's completed.
Well, I just want to talk a
Okay.
little bit. So I'm still missing two pieces, and now that I'm working with Jen, now that the beginning of the semester is kind of a lot going on, right?
Yeah.
So now that that's sort of the dust settled, I will work with her, get that last piece. I can't imagine I won't be able to have it by the October meeting. So that's that last piece. But the other thing I wanted to mention is that they do want to do the project with us again next spring. So we talked about, I think we do want to work with them again this spring, correct?
That's what we agreed to as a
Okay.
commission.
So now we can start, as we go through our discussions, we can start, as topics come up, oh, maybe that's something that the students can work on. We're gonna start making that list of projects. And then we'll work with Jen in January.
So are you saying that you're looking for the students to recommend projects?
No, us, I'm saying we.
Oh, wait, okay.
Right,
All right.
so just reminding the commissioners that we are doing projects again in the spring. And by January, we want to have a list of
You have
projects
to have
with
a list by January
descriptions.
to present. So that means
Right.
by the November agenda. Dave?
Yep.
Let's have that topic on there to bring our ideas there, and then we get hopefully finalized in the
And-
December agenda, and then meet with her in January.
And if stuff comes up along the way, just kind of note it, hey, that might be something,
To throw, yeah, from the.
right, to
each of
start,
our-
sort of start our list now,
Yeah.
right?
Okay,
And that's why Connecticut College is still on there because it's
It's an ongoing-
it's an
it's an
ongoing
ongoing,
thing. Yeah.
right.
So there's definitely
Exactly.
some
It's ongoing.
development pieces. So
so it's like the thought is there a project like out of waste management that we could stick them on or something? I mean, so I think each of us in our POC sections can think of it from that perspective.
Right, it would be interesting to have something from each of those sections. It'd be kind of fun
And
to,
especially since that's kind of a focus for us, and it'd be really good for them to be part of this bigger thing that's gonna be a real thing that's
That
happening.
at the
Right.
end that they can say, oh, I helped.
And
work
I
on
made that, I helped create that document.
yeah, they really like it when what they do is actually used for more than just a school project.
Yeah, right. versus
So they
academic.
get excited about those things. So, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so. All right, open space stewardship, I think we covered that,
Yeah, I don't think there's anything new that I know of anyway.
all right, and outreach. We kind of covered that.
Yes, I think
P.O.C.D.
you're
Yep.
My only thing my thought is because I reviewed the list, the connected community groups, I noticed that the Tri-Town Trails is not on that list. So I would suggest that since you are involved with that, I assume you would appreciate having that connected conservation.
The Tri-Town Trails will appreciate any support we can receive.
All right,
We're-
so without
yeah.
exception, I will add them also to the web list. And I mean, I did go by the way, the reason I'm asking Tom, he's on the Tri-Town Trail. I did ask the Mystic leader. I forget her name, but, is this something of interest to you? And she said, yes. So I didn't get to it from our point of view. I want to make sure they were involved. So when we go back and ask for something, it works both ways.
Mhm.
Okey doke. So next is new business. Okay, let me go around. No new business. Report of staff.
Oh, I get a lot of stuff.
Oh, boy. Oh, you were thinking this would be a summer session, only an hour?
Well, and most of it,
It's
and
a
it's,
record, the
and
world record.
it's gonna be a record anyway, so I'm not gonna do that. All right, so this is the reason why we didn't attach anything, because it's exactly the same as last time.
what we saw before.
The applicant did not get the paperwork in time in terms for the meeting.
Right, that's
So
what I
that's,
heard.
that's what the biggest thing is. So I'm like, is there anything? They're like, nope, we didn't submit in time. So it's not, they're gonna submit it tomorrow night.
I was
Now,
gonna
that
s-
being said,
Okay.
let me explain a few things, because I do have some updates on that. Obviously, there's issues with this right here of what they had here. One of the things that came out of it is they are not allowed to modify the WRPD boundary outside of their own property there.
Mhm.
Okay, so
Okay,
at
that
the-
makes
at-
sense.
which totally makes sense. So that's one big issue. So right now, the only changes that are being proposed tomorrow night are from here down, oops, geez, sorry, down to here. So it's just this corner. Now, yes, you could argue that watersheds don't make corners like that, but that is what they're proposing. They have gotten comments back from Groton Utilities, the COG, someone else. Hold on, it's on here.
Are they making changes to the topography?
No, well, no. Hold on.
I put up the retaining wall so that it does look like that.
Yeah, and that is a retaining wall right there. That's actually what you're looking at right here. This is not on this side, but there is a big retaining wall that's going right here. But what their survey, from what I understand, their survey before showed that it didn't drain down to that area there.
Hmm.
So, but there is a retaining wall here. Hold on 1 second.
Does the retaining
Application-
wall have, is it pierced to allow water flow underneath it?
There is a whole ENS, you'd have to ask about that, but there's a whole erosion and sediment control piece of that addresses all that. And there's some permeable layers and
okay,
stuff like
yeah.
that. So, let me just make sure there was something else here. All right, so this is just the background. I don't know if this background was on the last one, because this is the WRPD boundary and zoning test was initially adopted in 1987 to regulate the watershed that drains the Groton utilities. All right, that's what we're looking at. Boundary was amended in 88 to include a future water supply. Basically what they're saying is that on-site survey information of existing topography developed for the Triton Square wetland and site plan applications indicated an error in the boundary. So basically they outline this whole step to basically address that. So that's what they're addressing as part of the comments tomorrow. You are welcome to submit something. You're welcome to go tomorrow. It's a public hearing tomorrow because it's a map amendment. So if it's something that the commission would like to comment on, they definitely can. At this point, there has not been any pushback from utilities or what I said before, the COG.
I guess I just, what's the purpose of doing this? I mean, what are they trying to?
I was thinking the same thing.
So the project's already been approved, right?
Mhm.
And this little corner here, where you see the existing Water Resource Protection District, has plans that address the requirements for this WRPD here. When they went out there and actually started doing the work and whatnot, they found that they did the survey out there, basically said like, it doesn't drain there. So they're just amending it now. If it doesn't get approved, they'll just do it as, basically they already have this approved with this corner here. So they're just coming to say is like, this is not a true a boundary marker for this area here, and we'd like to cut it off here.
So they're saying that the source map that the town's using for delineation of water resource protection district
Yeah.
is in error.
Yes.
We didn't we're now notifying from our perspective, we think it's an error. And so, and they're providing information, but they're just saying they're really not providing a water, the guy that went and did this original map was a water expert per se, right? So we assume that the original map that was provided that the town has and that Groton Utilities approves for what the delineation of each of the various watersheds within the town. Okay.
Mhm.
So they're really challenging that and putting in and this amendment would really disrupt it because it's making it unrealistic. Because I just look at the topography. Water flows.
Yeah, you've got a wall, so it's gonna change.
Now, if he's putting a wall in, that makes sense. And then to amend it for the wall, but I don't see where I
This
couldn't
is-
tell if that's really a wall.
This is the wall. This is gonna be the wall right
Yeah,
here.
thing with all the little,
It's right.
I
at the
thought that
pro-
was a stone wall on the top, not a retaining wall.
This is that is gonna be retaining.
This is gonna be a retaining wall.
Right.
Okay, that's what I don't see that in the
And then you obviously don't have the entire,
package.
the
and
entire,
stuff.
the whole site plans, which is,
Yeah.
multiple pages, so.
Because this water, the water, the WRPD boundaries look, just kind of follow
Yeah,
the
yeah, follow
topography.
yeah.
And they're putting this in there, but if they're putting a wall in there, then it probably would be reflective of putting a wall, a retaining wall, because that's gonna change the topography.
And
And then they
again,
should be changing the other stuff that goes with it relative to the lines for the topo lines and have to change also,
yes,
which aren't reflected on here. They're just
Not-
looking for the boundary.
yes, yeah.
And rather than to tell topography, what's gonna be the final topography? That's why I was asking that question, as far as are they, chopping it out and changing the topography, making it flat and changing the elevations and all this kind of stuff. That should be reflected in the plan.
And
One
that
would seem,
And again, they didn't submit it in time, so that's part of the issue too, so.
okay.
So from that perspective, do we have a member of the commission that's interested to?
What time's
attend
the
that
meeting?
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock tomorrow night? 7 o'clock, I can do it.
Oh, yeah, that's a no executive meeting. It's a,
I'm not on that.
yeah, no.
I'm done at 6. Because other stuff at 6,
Okay,
so I'm still
so-
there, no problem.
Tom, you're basically trying to check is what the hell's the new topography
Yeah,
that you're now.
that's what I
checking.
see.
And they're
That's the
gonna,
issue.
they're obviously gonna present their
Yeah.
new stuff, so, you can,
Yeah,
make
we
this-
do have, from a conservation commission responsibilities, we were supposed to be taking a look at this kind of stuff and just asking basic questions as far as. Because we're supposed to be conserving the
Yeah,
water and
now-
everything else.
Now, their submission tomorrow, you will then have that copy.
From what or they're gonna explain this one here.
Well, I assume there's gotta be a package they're gonna.
This is it right here. This
That's
is
it?
This is actually the package. That's what I actually have. This is the agenda packet for
Tomorrow night.
tomorrow night.
So
So
they don't
they're,
have a
they're gonna explain.
topo change in there.
No, that's what I was challenging it before.
Ah, okay.
So you
That's
have
a-
every
that's a
right
fair-
to ask those
that's-
questions.
yes,
You know what I
that's a
mean?
fair
Like, you
question.
have every right to ask those questions.
I don't know, yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know how it changes it if you don't show the change in topography you're visiting with that retaining wall.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Okay, so that's that.
That's one.
Yes.
Two is, you had a bunch of questions for me last time, so I'm following up. One is someone asked about the khaki whack newsletters. We think that COVID was the reason that khaki whack is no longer doing their newsletter. I talked to Deb and she's like, we have not received anything in the last several years. The conference is still happening, obviously, and I think in November or whatever, but they are not doing their quarterly newsletter. And if you go to the khaki whack thing, you can ask them.
Yeah,
Say, hey,
they don't have details yet though. For the
no details yet. No. There was a question about the time frame for the remaining schools to be turned over to the town by the Board of Education. Mary Morrison, basically not anytime soon, because it's being used as flex space right now. And then for Butler, they weren't exactly sure, but it's definitely still going to be turned over to the town. So that's as much information as I could get for those.
So are you saying that Chester and Butler are tagged to be turned over to the town?
From what I understand, yes, the plan is still for Butlers to be turned over at some point.
Well, versus I'm using it for flex space, whatever the hell that means.
The Mary
Mary
Morrison one,
Morrison.
that's Mary Morrison, not Chester.
Right. Oh, no,
Yeah.
because we had all these plans for Chester. So I'm going, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's why.
And we didn't, you didn't ask that question, but that was, that's still in process. Obviously, you've been to the,
Yes.
charrettes
I've
and
been to
whatnot.
all of it. Yeah,
Yep.
that's what I was asking. Okay.
someone also asked about short-term rentals and what the progress is on that.
Yep.
The draft regulations currently are being reviewed by the town attorney. So that's what we're waiting on for that right now. Yeah, you'd have to go back to the minutes of the meeting. It would be all part of that. Yep, with the consultant. It was Horsley Witten again, so they have the whole write-up and stuff like that. But yeah, that's all public. Any of that stuff is. And then finally, just something to share, because I don't want to take too long.
Yeah.
You probably know about this. This is the Yukon Native Plants and Pollinators Conference.
Yeah.
All right, it's on November 2nd, up at where is it at? It's up at Yukon in stores. So if any, just something, if anyone would like to see this, I figured, Kristen, you would have this, but if, yeah.
Send it around again.
yeah, I can send it around, but you can take that too. And that is what I have. So it's not that much.
Very good. Is there?
Just
any-
as a follow-up, I did find that Ray is correct on the legislative history for the discussions of the town council with the Groton Shellfish Commission introduced on 5/15/2018. That Mr. Brown responded to questions from the counselors. He noted the history of the Noank Cooperative water sample testing requirements. He mentioned that he would like to have the testing facility at this end of the state at Avery Point. And so I can send you this link.
There's something buried in there.
Yeah, there's a lot of other stuff in here about the shellfish management plans and all this kind of stuff.
And it didn't happen because of the state not paying money.
Well, no, it doesn't go into any more details.
I'm
of that.
asking Bray, I'm confirming with Bray that it didn't happen because of state money.
Well, the state consolidates everything, they want only few things. It's because state employees doing it, right? Or contracted.
Yeah, but they can make an educational overlap.
Oh, right.
with the
Yep.
school.
Yep, they could.
That's if Avery Point wants to do that.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That would make so much sense.
Okay, let's not go there. We're not, common sense is not on the table. All right. All right, having said that, one last call for any new business.
Move we adjourn.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye, unanimously passed, and we close the meeting in a record time of
6:08.
6:08.
This goes down in history.
Don't expect that to happen.